Hi, it's Kendra. I thought it would be fun to see what kind of shape my paints are in after not having painted in over a year. This palette I haven't used in a year and a half, and this older palette I haven't used in over 2 years. So let's see how dried up the paints are and whether I can bring them back to life. In this palette, the only color I've used recently is the cobalt blue when I painted my painter's block the other day. So this is cobalt blue in the top right corner, and this is ultramarine blue just above it. Cobalt blue was used just the other day, and ultramarine blue not since a year and a half ago. They both look shiny and solid. I'll just add some water to the ultramarine and wiggle it around. You can see that the paint is reviving really quickly. This is Da Vinci Ultramarine Blue, which I love. As I'm doing this, I can see that there are a few little crumbs of paint that aren't dissolved in the water. And if I were to use that in a painting, it would definitely show. It could make a streak or it could show up as a lump. Not ideal. I'll show you on a piece of paper here. If I just paint a few lines, look, you can see the little lump of paint that's not dissolved in the water, and that could make a dark spot as it dries, or a streak, like if I were to paint over it and move it across the paper. So when I start painting with an old palette like this, I just have to be careful and make sure that I work the paint back and forth and swish it all around to get those lumps dissolved into the water. And that will really help improve my painting experience. Here are two colors that I rarely use anyway, so I'm just going to skip them. They're pretty opaque, and I really prefer to use more transparent watercolors. This one is black from a Pentel's children's set that I have, and it's really crusty. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's super lumpy and crispy. If I can just pick it up here, you can see how flaky it is. And that's definitely the worst one in my palette. It's super flaky. But even this one, I could revive with some water if I tried. We'll come back to this one in a bit. And let's see, this pink one over here in the corner looks great. It's super glossy. I don't even remember what color this is. It's been so long since I used it. It's quite dark. It's probably permanent rose. I'll just add some water here. And yeah, you can see how easily it's mixing up. You can see my palette has a lot of paint still on it in the middle mixing area from the last time I used it. But like, honestly, I love a messy palette like this. I'll take these old colors, mix them together, and then like shove them off to the side and use them later. See these rich colors I can get? And I'll just save them over here in the corner there. Oh, look, I've got a lot of lint. This is just dust that's collected on my palette. Okay, look at the yellow. It looks so green to me. You know, even if I put the yellow as far away from the blues as I can, it seems like the blues just love to migrate into the yellow. The good news is that if I swish my brush around, I can pretty much take off the top layer and clean it right up. And it just takes a little bit of elbow grease to bring it back to life. So that's pretty good. Let's see what it looks like on paper. I just take a little bit here. Not bad. That's pretty bright. I don't even know what color this is. It could be New Gamboge yellow, Aureolin yellow. Oh, there's a little bit of lint there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I think I can pick it up with my brush if I just sort of dry my brush off a little. I don't want to put a big wet brush into my painting or it would whoosh the water in and around. Sometimes you can just let the dust dry right on the painting and then pick it up after it's dried. But other times, if it's, as long as it's not too dry yet, you can pick it up with your brush. This one here is Indian yellow, and it's got a little layer of grunge on top of it too. But I can just try to revive it. You can see there's something dark there that's kind of embedded into the middle there. So I just want to wet it, rub it around, and I should be able to get it back to its color that it originally was. This is Hooker's Green. My Hooker's Green is also from Da Vinci, and it's coming back to life really easily. This one over here is Olive Green from Daler Rowney. There's just a few little bits in it, a bit of dust. You know, I could put this under the tap to try and like wash off the top layer of dust, and that would be an effective way to clean my palette, but sometimes then it will wash away a lot of the paint too, and that just makes me sad. Besides, I don't like mind just kind of doing it like this and trying to refresh it on my own. This one is Phthalo Turquoise, and look how beautifully it comes back to life. It's like I never left it. Okay, I'm running out of room here. I'm gonna need to clean up my palette a little bit. Looks like this was ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, my favorite combo. Don't you just love how I can re-wet this and it's instantly ready to go? That's the beauty of watercolor. And these two colors make such beautiful shadow color. Since we're here, I might as well show you why I love it so much. Let's grab some burnt sienna. Whoa, this one is pretty crusty. It's gonna take a little work. Burnt sienna is a great color to use for mixing. I love using this one with ultramarine blue to make a beautiful shadow color, but as a color on its own, it's quite an orangey brown. Oh, there's a little fleck of some dust in there. That's pretty normal when your paints haven't been touched in a while. All part of the process of cleaning up old paint. So, anyways, it's not a very natural brown, but it looks really good mixed. In fact, if I mix it evenly with ultramarine blue, I can get a beautiful, rich black color. I use it all the time instead of black from the tube. First, let's go back and check out that black Pentel paint that I have so we can compare. Remember, this black is like super crusty, but even this one, I think I can bring it back to life. I just need like a little extra elbow grease. It's like I said, a kid's paint, so it's lower quality, so it does crust and crumble a lot more than the quality paints. So if I really like mush it together, I think I can get this to be quite smooth again. Okay, let's just test it out. If I paint it on a piece of paper, not focusing, sorry. Okay, there. Black looks pretty good, right? Okay, let's compare to my favorite black color mix. I love making black on my own with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. I just mix them together pretty equally. If I don't add enough blue, it's going to be more to the brown side, like this, like a grungy brown, like sort of more of a Van Dyke brown. If I put too much blue, then it'll be bluey gray, which can be great for shadows and clouds. But if I put them pretty equally, I can almost get black. So I'll just add a little more ultramarine to this. There, even just that little amount added makes a really nice dark gray, almost black, just like that. Look at that. Next to the black, they actually look really similar. This is sort of more of a gray, but if I wanted to make it darker, I'd just add more paint. I used the towel to dry my brush off so that I'm not adding too much water into the paint as I mix it because I want it to get darker. I'm just proving how my paint gets muddy. But like if I wash my brush off and swish it back and forth over that area, then I can take that muddy part right off the top and bring it into my mix and the paint's back to new. So I don't worry about it if it's just a little bit like that. Look at that. That's getting really dark. That's really getting nice. And it just doesn't compare to the paint from the tube. When you use black from the tube, it's so much more dull. This is a rich blue black, a night black. And I use this mix most of the time if I ever need black. But once in a while, I do use the one from the tube, if I just need to do something really quick and small. So I keep it in my palette, though I don't use it often. You can see that the tube black is more of a flat color, and the one that I mixed is just rich. I really recommend that you try it. Well, that was a palette I hadn't used in over a year. Let's see one that I haven't used in over 2 years. This one has been sitting with a lid on it, so it shouldn't be too dusty, but it looks pretty dry. Look how crusty. there's a chunk. I don't know what color that is. I have to figure that out. And yeah, there's quite a few. That's that black again, the same one as before, the Pentel. And this would be maybe Prussian blue. No, that must be phthalo turquoise. This is quinacridone gold. It looks really flaky. Quinacridone gold is a color that looks so brown and kind of yucky until you put it on paper. And then it really glows. Let's see if I can bring it back to life. What is this color, first of all? Is that part of that black? Oh no, it's blue. That's the phthalo turquoise that's missing from over. Okay, there we go. Put it over there. And if I spray them, they will start to do some of the work on their own. And then it's a lot easier to bring them back to life, especially when they're so crunchy and crusty like this one. The flakes go flying. I'm going to spray a bunch of water in there and let it sit, and that'll help soften it up. You can see the little bits floating around in it. It's so dry. This one too needs my help. Let's spray some water in there. Let's see if I can wake this one up. It's so dry and flaky and it looks really brown. But this color can really fool you. So sometimes it doesn't look as good when it's just squeezed out of the tube. And it's one that you don't want to paint really thickly and opaquely on your paper because it will just look kind of brown and dull like this. But once you add water, it really livens up like a beautiful, beautiful autumn gold. Let's see if I got rid of enough flakes and try it on paper to show you. So it's, oh, this is not what I was expecting. That's quite brown and dull. It's kind of grungy and it's got a lot of dust in it, little bits of paint. So it needs a lot more work. I'm going to try it wet and wet because that's usually more successful with this color. See if I can get it to pop. If I just drop a little bit into the water, it should glow. It's really underwhelming. I think it's been too contaminated. It's not the pure color. This is usually a lot brighter. Let's see what's in here. I think there's a chunk of something in there. Looks like, oh, maybe that's the cause of it. It looks like there's some burnt sienna in there. Let's see. I'm going to test that out and see what that is. That could have really been the cause of what was making it look so brown. Huh. I don't know. I actually think this is Quinn Gold. Quinn Gold looks brown when oh, there's the culprit. It was some green in there. That's what was making it look so cloudy and muddy. That's why. I'll just clean my brush here. I'm sure that that big chunk is Quinn Gold. If I just clean it up a little bit, okay. Oh, that's starting to get brighter. That's the color I was trying to tell you about. It's very glowy, very pretty. If I do a little wet and wet patch, it should glow now. Let's see. Should be more successful. Oh yeah, that's way better than before. Boop, poof. See how much brighter that is than my test before? This just shows you that when you haven't used your palette for a while, it's really good to play around on a scrap paper and to clean up your colors. See how dull and yucky that was compared to the new one that I just did? Way better. And so a little tiny bit of effort on your palette can go a long way. A lot of these paints, I wouldn't want to use them the way they are. They have so many little bits in them. I don't even know what color this is. This is pretty crunchy and dark. Oh, look, there's a hair in it. Oh my gosh, oh dear. That's no good. Probably thinking, oh my gosh. I mean, I really keep my palette messy, don't I? But I mean, I haven't used this one in so long. It's bound to get some dust and bits in it. This is my old palette. This is one I've had for years and years. And like, I replaced it, but I kept it so that I could have a palette for when I travel or paint outside. And I bring this one. So, you know, if it gets like sun exposure or wrecked, then I'm not going to be as sad. Now I can't leave this alone. I need to get this. It's terrible. How embarrassing. I feel determined to get this hair out of there. Just really scrubbing at it, trying to loosen it up. Oh, hang on. Oh, come on. Come on. I got it. I got it. Yay. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh, this palette is looking so messy. I think I'm just going to clean this off. I don't normally always clean my palette, but once in a while when it gets really messy with so many different colors, it needs a good clean. And you know, sometimes I'll like move all that dark paint into the corners so I can use it for something, but this has too much dust in it. I'm just going to clean this off. You're probably going to be so relieved to hear me say that. Some people just can't stand a messy palette, and I'm not one of them. I tend to really use these colors when they're clean, but these are not, and they deserve a true clean. I'm going to wipe it off with some paper towel, get it back to a starting point. Especially if you haven't been painting in a while, the hardest thing is just to start. So by getting into my paints like this and working with them, then I can get back into it. When I painted my painter's block the other day, it was in the hopes that I would, you know, like it would get me over the hurdle of how it feels when you haven't done something in a long time. Like the hardest thing is just starting. And I was hoping that just by painting that square, it'd push me forward so that I could start painting again. And you know, even though today I didn't have it in me to do a painting, I think it was a really great idea to look at my palette, my paints, and just getting my brush in the paint and in the water and playing with my palette. It kind of revives me a bit. And it'll clean up my paint so that they'll be ready to paint with. And then hopefully I'll want to start painting again. I think it's a good stepping stone. And if you haven't painted in a long time, I really recommend that you go and get your palette out and just wet the paint and see which colors revive more easily than others and see which ones you can get the little crumbles dissolved off of, and also like just wash off any dust that's on your palette. And even just with a brush and water, that can go a long way. And then hopefully that sets you up to want to start painting again. And that's what I'm hoping will happen for me. But anyhow, I'm going to hopefully get my palette back to working order. And if you have an old palette that you haven't used in a while, I hope that you'll go and play with yours too. Have fun and bye for now.